Today we're going to go over some tips on how to make sure that you're all organized for the pre-writing of your DBQ. The first step that you're going to want to do after completing your document analysis, that is, you finish all your questions with a hook exercise, background questions, and documents A through D, is you're going to want to establish what's called the thesis of your paper. So you're aware the thesis of your paper means your theme, or what you are trying to prove throughout your paper. Remember, the topic of this DBQ is how free were free blacks in the North. So your job with your thesis is to just answer that question the best you could. I have 3 examples that I've written here for you, and these are just possible answers to what you could say to how free were free blacks in the North, but by no means is this list all-inclusive. So you might say, for example, your thesis could be free blacks in the North were more free than blacks in the South. Or you might say free blacks in the North had limited freedoms. The example we'll be dealing with today is free blacks in the North weren't free at all. Again, these are just possible examples that you could do for your thesis, but these are not, I should say, the only options that you have available. Once you've decided on your thesis, what you're then going to want to do is take a look at some of the resources that you can find on Google Classroom. I'm going to show you 3 different sources. This essay outline guide, although it has more paragraphs than what I'm requiring you to write, it has 6. I'm only requiring you to write 4. What I would like with your papers is an introductory paragraph, a conclusion paragraph, and then I only want 2 body paragraphs within your paper. But this gives you a pretty good idea of how to set things up. Having a grabber, something that gets people's attention, giving some background, telling us a little bit of history about African Americans and their lives in the northern United States. Talking about the theme of the paper, and then really giving your thesis about what is your response to how free were free blacks in the North. What is your opinion? Then what you're going to do for your 2 body paragraphs is give us examples of that question, or give the examples of why your statement is correct. So let's go back to the example of free blacks in the North weren't free at all. If this is your thesis, you are going to want to prove in your 2 body paragraphs why this is the case. 2 different ways to do that, and you don't have to use these, but they could be helpful to you. If you want to use the buckets, what I would put on the buckets are just different themes. So maybe you want to say free blacks in the North weren't free at all because of political reasons and social reasons. So one bucket could be political reasons, the other you could label social reasons, and then you're going to dump in the bucket, or you're going to write in here, or you're going to have written on the side all the reasons why they didn't have political freedoms or they didn't have social freedoms. And again, those are just 2 examples that you could use. Or you could use the chicken foot method, where you say, okay, here's social reasons. This is going to be one of my paragraphs. And here are all these branches stemming off of ways that blacks didn't have social freedoms. Maybe this one is political freedoms. So you write political freedoms on this line. And then these are all your examples of why African Americans didn't have political freedoms in the North. My personal favorite way to do it, and I find this to be the easiest way, is just to write a list. Here you can see my 2 body paragraphs are going to be about social reasons, why free blacks in the North weren't free at all, or political reasons. Again, these should be your body paragraphs. In your body paragraphs, you're going to want to use examples of social reasons or examples of political reasons. Then, as you go through and prove your point, you are in parentheses going to put what documents you find this information from. So exactly where are you finding this information? So maybe you found the first example from document A. Maybe you found the second example from the hook exercise. Reminder in your paper, I'm requiring you to have at least 3 examples from the documents. That's why you did the document analysis, because you're going to use that information to really help prove your point that you're trying to make there. So just as a recap, what you should be working on once you're done with the document analysis is just structuring this paper. My recommendation is writing the thesis first, So again, that's the theme of your paper, which is answering this question of how free were free blacks in the North. Once you've answered that question, then begin to set up, okay, what am I going to do for one of my body paragraphs? What is my big theme going to be for that? Like here is social reasons. And then my other body paragraph, what's going to be the theme of that? And again, in my example, I'm using political reasons. Make sure that you're getting steady progress done toward completing your DBQ, and that really begins today with making sure you've got some good pre-writing strategies. Make sure you're ready to ask me questions for the next day I'm in class, and keep working hard.